In the article Shakespeare in the Bush, I think that the author's main goal was to allow the reader to understand that the way that a person understands or interprets a story, even one as common as, in this case, Hamlet, can be determined by their cultural worldviews. Bohannon travels to a place where he has no previous knowledge as far as their culture, or as far as like the things they do, or anything that they've gone through within their life. Within these 3 months, Bahanian was able to notice how the elderly men of West Africa came together after a long day's work and would sit down and talk over a glass of beer until they were drunk, and at the end of the night they would come together and start singing and celebrating whatever it is they were discussing. Bohannian attempted to tell the story of Hamlet to these elderly men of West Africa. This reveals that the cultural interpretation of events, characters, and motivations differ significantly from a Western perspective, highlighting the subjectivity of meaning. The elderly man gave Bohannian a hard time when he was trying to tell the story of Hamlet. I feel like that was shown by men constantly interrupting Bahanian when he was telling the story, and also when he was still telling the story, they never really allowed him to like continue the story. They always would interrupt him and kind of like reflect on their past experiences regarding the situation. Also, they would kind of like say what they believe, I feel like, to kind of like cloud Bahanian's perspective and his views, and I love how Bahanian did not allow them to do it. Every time they attempted to do that, he kind of like redirected them and got them back focused on his story and continued on with telling the story of Hamlet without allowing them to dictate how he would tell the story or how he would try to get them to visualize what he was telling them. The elderly man, I feel like, tried to kind of like dictate how the story was being told because they felt like they had more experience, and also that their morals were more important due to that's where they currently were. They weren't looking at where he came from or what Bahanian has been through prior to him coming to West Africa. Bahanian thought that Hamlet's behavior was regular because him himself had experienced tragedy, betrayal, and also madness. So to him, this was normal. And from his understanding, this was something that was worldwide. He felt like every human being experienced this type of behavior. So for him to tell the Hamlet story to the elderly, he thought that they would be more receptive to what he was saying. I honestly feel like nobody's culture is better than the other. I feel like what you experience or what you go through make up who you are as a person, make up how you raise your own child, and it also determines where you want to end up. It kind of identifies who you are as a person. So I don't think that no one's culture is better, or because you're this culture, you're this way, and if you're not this culture, if you're not this way, then you're going to be this way. As I said earlier in the video, a lot of the elderly would intervene while Bahanian was talking and telling the story of Hamlet, and just kind of put in the air what they went through or what their experience was, or ask why this was happening, just to get better clarification from Bahanian. But again, I do think that the elderly did a lot of attempts of trying to kind of like give Bahanian their perspective and kind of deterrogate how he felt about the situation or his own personal views. I feel like, me being an African American, a lot of people assume that majority of African Americans come from the same background, or have the kind of majority the same culture. I do agree that for the most part we are pretty similar as far as our culture and our morals, but a lot of things about African America and our culture are not the same. For example, some African American cultures, the woman is to kind of stay home and take care of the family, raise the kids, cook dinner for the husband, and mainly focus on the home, while the man is to go out and work and take care of the family financially, protect the family, so on and so forth. Now, for me, I agree with the man is supposed to be, protective and take care of home and so on and so forth. And I also believe that a woman should take care of home, feed, and take care of the kids. But in my culture, or I should say in my family setting, we also believe that the woman should be able to do just as much as the man as far as like going out and financially being able to take care of the family. Now, are we expected to do it 100%? No, but are we open to it? Yes, as long as it's mutual and being reciprocated from our partner. That is something that I feel like kind of changes within cultures as far as like the woman's role and the man's role in a relationship. Although that is a common conversation that comes up, a lot of people have different perspective on how that works, which is determined by how they were brought up, how they were raised, where they come from, their previous relationships, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people, as we're discussing, cultural background plays a part in their perspective and views, whether they were when they were young, their mom or parents or family enforced certain information into their head and told them you have to abide by this. At the end of the day, how we handle situations or react to situations is determined by our experiences within those situations. One thing that the Thai people could not wrap their hands around was the ghost concept and how it was used. Something that I feel like changes throughout different cultures is the spiritual aspect as far as like ghosts in the afterlife. For me, a specific place, or I don't know if I could say culture that stands out, is the culture of New Orleans. I visit New Orleans 4 times. I've actually visited New Orleans because there's so much culture, and it also kind of brings me back to my roots in a sense. I have been there, and I did go on a tour when I was there of New Orleans, and a tour that I went on was specifically focused on the spiritual or the voodoo aspect of New Orleans and where it comes from, where they got their football type name from, as far as like the Saints. New Orleans is a place that is really kind of uprooted from a spiritual aspect and really believe in afterlife and so on and so forth. I know for me and my culture, I'm not really into that. Do I believe in ghosts? I don't know. I mean, I haven't had an experience with any, so I don't really know if I believe it. Do I enjoy horror movies? Yes, I do. Am I scared when I'm at home by myself? Yes, I am. But can I say, do I believe in ghosts? No. But in New Orleans, if you was to ask someone that was born and raised in New Orleans if they believe in ghosts or if they believe in the afterlife, majority of their answers will be yes, just because that's where they come from, that's how they grew up, and they've been around it for a majority of their life. From this article, I learned that stand on what you believe in. Do not allow anyone to dictate or cloud your decision making or your views on any situation that you're currently dealing with or have went through. Again, your worldview all depends on your experiences, your upbringing, your morals. All that plays a part in your decision making and your reaction to different situations. Your perspective might not be the same as your siblings, even though y'all grew up in the same household. Again, y'all did not experience my experience was not my sister's experiences. I've learned that being an adult now. My sister that I lived with for a majority of our life, she discusses things with me that didn't affect me, that had no phase over me, but it affected her a lot, which is kind of makes up who she is today, and then my experience make up who I am today. So again, stand on what you believe in. Don't allow anyone to try to dictate what you do or how you feel about a situation. Your culture is who you are. Never allow anyone to take that from you.